It's wow, this looks incredible. How many members, candidate members, are in the House? Just raise your hand. One. Come on. Some of y'all may wake up. You know, it's important. It's important for people to see that. The enemy should see that, so that they know not to F with Workers' World Party. And in Durham, we are telling the authorities, let our comrades go, or we will have the biggest march on Durham. There'll be no sidewalks there, and we will mess up everything in Durham. So it's a smart thing to free our comrades ASAP. I think there's a date on that. Was it December 5th? December 5th? Comrades, I'm gonna speak briefly and try to be to the point. It's about the future, next few months, the next year, what may be important about that. And I'll start with ideology, with politics. I read an article in the New York Times a few days ago. Somebody sent it to me, so some of you saw it. I don't have it in front of me, but it was something like capitalism having problems. It was November 15th. And written by one of their, reputable labor writers. And it starts, the article starts, the first sentence, you don't have to be a card-carrying revolutionary to know that global capitalism is having problems. And it goes on to talk about some interesting things. That's not the point I want to make. But get that first line, you don't have to be a card-carrying revolutionaries. You stop and you think, somebody's worried about card-carrying revolutionaries. And more of them, And I think that some in the bourgeoisie think about that and have nightmares about that, because the fact of the matter is that the masses are becoming more radicalized. We talk a lot about the youth, and it's definitely a phenomenon amongst young people. Everywhere, they hate capitalism. They hate capitalism. But it transcends generations, the more oppressed sections. Actually, you can't confine it to any section or any generation, And this worries capitalism, those who think about the future. Everybody's hating us. Imagine if something happens and they hate us even more, How can we hold on, In our open letter that the party put out under my signature a little while ago, calling on revolutionaries, however they describe themselves, aside from that, calling on them to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Russian Revolution by doing a couple of things, fighting harder for unity so that we can have that united front that Brother Larry Ham was talking about, but also using the anniversary to rededicate themselves to the struggle for socialist revolution. For socialist revolution, knowing full well that that's not going to happen tomorrow, and that maybe it's not on the table in this country, but we've got to put it out there and not treat it as though it's some thing that's so far off in the future that it has no significance, it has no relevance. Point being that we are entering an epoch. These sound like big words. Yes, but we have reason to believe that they're true. An epoch, by the way, is not a week. You can't define it by, weeks and months or even years. That's not what it's about. We're entering an epoch where, because of the capitalist crisis, more and more of our class everywhere is waking up whatever situation has frozen their consciousness, that's thawing. That's thawing, comrades. And they're waking up to the fact that the next important thing that humanity has to do is get rid of capitalism. That no progress can be made. No progress can be made. It's an existential threat. And so the clock is ticking. And it doesn't matter whether it's years or decades or, we don't have to go there. This is the epoch of ending this problem that's holding back all life and all progress on earth. And so we must feel confident as revolutionaries. Not everybody's a revolutionary. We understand that. We don't critique that. A lot of progressive people, a lot of workers, different levels of consciousness. We could talk about that. Some will become revolutionary, others may never. And we'll work with everybody as long as they respect the fact that we're revolutionaries and we will not give up our revolutionary politics. But we need to recruit revolutionaries. That's how a party like Workers' World grows. We don't need everybody. We just need those who identify as revolutionaries. That's enough for now. There's an awful lot of them. And we need to take their revolutionary hatred of capitalism and forge that in to a party, to a movement that will help the struggle. What's coming? Let's look back. A year ago, we were still spinning from the electoral results. But a lot of interesting things were happening. A lot of anger. Hundreds of thousands of people on the street. You remember the counter-inauguration? We did that. We were a big factor. We weren't the only one, but our party was a big organizer of the counter-inauguration on the day, back in January 2017, And it was a demonstration that essentially the program was, socialism versus capitalism. I can't remember the last time I went to a demonstration where there were thousands of people, and that was the program, socialism versus capitalism. I mean, it was quite a thing, a sign of the times. We're still dealing with the fact that hundreds of those demonstrators and those demonstrators around D.C. are still facing felony charges. We don't forget that. That's a sign. Then the next day, I think it was a Sunday, remember there was that huge women's march? Actually, there were huge women's marches. I think they were all over the world. It was incredible. It was incredible. And then there were the demonstrations at the airports in solidarity with our Muslim comrades. I mean, they were incredible, Other demonstrations. And we seemed to have the resistance from the street seemed to have some steam going. But it began to kind of dwindle. There were exceptions. Certainly Charlottesville, what our comrades are doing in Durham. Lots of things. I'm generalizing. It kind of dwindled down. We had great hopes for May Day 2017. We put out a call for a global general strike, which even though that didn't happen, it still was a good idea. And it did seem as though the fear coming from Trump and ICE and the police and the bourgeoisie may have been a factor on keeping some of the immigrants from coming out, understandably so. And what has happened since then? The attacks have increased. Immigrants are still being rounded up. Attacks on all sectors of the workers. Everything that's left, education, housing, it seems like the Trump regime has appointed somebody who's there to dismantle them. It really is a counter-revolution. We can talk about that, except there's so many other things going on. The white supremacists, the neo-fascists, the misogynists, some of which is being exposed, Comrade Monica's going to talk about that. That's a big issue. We could talk about that and where does that go? See? Who benefited from this? I would argue that the Democratic Party did. Once the street resistance sort of cooled down, the Democratic Party, with its money and its structure and its power, it's a bourgeois party, they began to go to work. Hearings, health care, Obamacare, organizing. And you know, clearly, I know you all saw it, they were competing. They were saying, come off the street. Okay, you did that. Now it's time to come off the street and get serious and do something meaningful. You know, elect the Democrats, you know. And this was their role. And you know, we understand the way some people feel about that. We understand people wanting anything other than this misogynist, racist monster of a billionaire. We understand that. And I hope that we're diplomatic when we talk to our friends about that. No need to beat them over the head to explain to them that it's the Demopublicans, you know, and so forth. But comrades, we have to be true. We have to be honest and explain to people in the best way that we can that the Democratic Party's mission is to smash the radicalization of the working class and the oppressed. This is not rhetoric. This is a fact. It is deliberate. This is the purpose for their existence, to hold the workers and the oppressed back and to hold them hostage to the ruling class. We've got to understand that. It's not rhetorical. It's not even emotional. It's just a fact. And that fact is going to get bigger and bigger in 2018. What's coming next year? What can we look forward to? I have no idea. The political situation is so unstable and so wild, added by the growing instability in the economic situation. You know, anything could happen. Impeachment, coup d'etats, resignations, wars, you know, you name it. Get ready. You know, the political and economic situation is like a fool riding a drunk horse, you know. It could run anywhere. And I think just for our own sanity, we sort of say, I'll just do my local organizing, because whatever's happening upward, I don't understand what that is. We've got to understand that the Democrats are going to try to make the midterm elections. I won't explain it because I'm running out of time. The Democrats are going to try to make the midterm elections everything. Drop everything. We got to take back Congress. Don't care about tax on the workers, don't care about the bosses, don't care about white supremacy, don't care about misogyny, don't care about Venezuela, Puerto Rico, the DPRK, whatever. Just put all that aside and put us back in the House. And that's the solution. We cannot let that happen. Let me refine that. It's not a question of whether we can stop them from taking the House. That's not the point. We cannot let them sweep the independent, radical mass movement off to the side. Think about it. Think about it. It's a very serious charge. 2018 is a few days away. We don't know what's going to come, what opportunities are going to come. But we've got to look at the big view right now and deal with the challenge that we're facing. I don't know what opportunities will come, but we better start thinking about it. Some of you know we're reorganizing our party. We're reorganizing our leadership. Hopefully that will mean better decisions, better deliberations, more information, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I think we shouldn't wait. It might not be a bad idea at all for us to look at the first few months in 2018. Take the week that begins with the King holiday, which is Monday, January 15th. In your localities, you know, sometimes coalitions organize events on that day. Sometimes, you know, they got that covered, whether it's the civil rights community or the churches or what have you, when we support it or we bring whatever we have there. Then at the end of that week is another anniversary. That's that Saturday, January 20th. That is the first anniversary of the inauguration, where we had our great demonstration. Now, some may have better ideas. That's not the point. We got to get started. We got to get started, comrades. We got to deal with next year. We can't let it deal with us. We got to deal with it. We got to be proactive. Begin thinking about that. Maybe this week can be helpful. Think about some themes. What themes can we use? Work with everybody. You know, as long as we can have our revolutionary politics, everybody's welcome. We don't want to monopolize it. We don't want to put pops probably do something. Let's help them. Think about some political themes that we need. You know, things like, you know, worker solidarity, not white supremacy. Worker solidarity, not white supremacy. Worker solidarity, not white supremacy. That's aimed at our class, because this is the choice that Trump is giving the working class. Give up worker solidarity, choose white supremacy. Some of you who are in a position to do that. Yeah. Or take it further, be advanced. You know, like some of the posters around here. Smash white supremacy and capitalism. Hell, you might get more people than you can imagine to a protest like that, if it's a protest, or maybe it's an occupation, or whatever. So start thinking about this. Consider that week. Consider every day. Make a big tent. Let's see what we can do. Let's see who wants to move. Let's see who's ready to fight back. There's no guarantees. The weather can affect it, especially in the Midwest. And in this part of the country, okay, so we move on. We got so many things. International Women's Day, May Day. Actually, it's an important anniversary for Martin Luther King coming up. I won't get into that. The thing is, we've got to get ready. Think about people's assemblies. People's assemblies versus Democratic Party meetings, where people organize on a local or regional basis. If that's not good, come up with something else. But we have got to begin strategizing a revolutionary strategy, so that we've carved out a revolutionary pole for the next year of struggle, and we're not just chopped down and swept away by a bourgeois, phony baloney, hypocritical Democratic Party that is a big problem, just a big problem. Comrades, I'll finish here. You know, we ask a lot of each other, what else can we do? Nothing is guaranteed. Sometimes you try things, it don't work out. Hopefully you learn and don't get too discouraged. The only thing that we're really guaranteed is that history's on our side. Everything else is just we're trying. Let's see, like our comrades in Durham. But the thing that we do have in the meantime, love each other, have each other's back, protect each other, and if you need to, forgive each other. In this way, we will forge a revolutionary party that is central to a revolutionary movement that is stronger and stronger and stronger and more determined. And if we do it right, I know that some of you out there will be leading the revolution. It won't take another 100 years.